I transmigrated and became the vicious villain in the book. My husband despised me and even cheated. As the soul who had crossed over, I had no desire to be entangled with him, and so, I boldly demanded a divorce. Unexpectedly, he refused my request and said to me, "Please, don't leave me. You're all I have." Time ticked by, 1 second after another. In the darkness, came the sound of agonized whimpers, as though a throat had been seized, breath caught, the sound heavy and labored. It resembled the final screech of a dying rat in the sewer, sharp, yet feeble. Creak, the sound of a door opening. Then came the faint flicker of candlelight, casting trembling shadows on the walls. There stood a middle-aged man, chained and bound, his figure swaying with the light. He looked as though he had been imprisoned for a long time, his body filthy, untouched by cleanliness. Beside him hung a skeleton, its joints cruelly threaded together with iron wire. The prolonged darkness and silence had made his ears exceptionally sensitive. The sound of the door opening was piercing and unbearable. He knelt down and looked toward the source of light. Eyes unused to any light suddenly contracted, and reflexive tears welled up. He seemed terrified of the person entering, curling up as he retreated further back. But the person who entered remained silent, pulling over a chair and sitting down. The sound of metal scraping against the floor was sharp, like a blade cutting through the darkness. It was a woman, with an elegant figure and a cold, beautiful face. She was undoubtedly beautiful, but facing the scene before her, her expression was one of utter indifference. Callista Ravencroft. The man murmured a name. She sighed softly, lifting her eyelids to look at the man kneeling on the ground. The man began trembling from her gaze. Scared, a faint smile curled at the corner of her lips as she leaned in closer to him. Her amber pupils as deep and unfathomable as the endless abyss. "We're just getting started." The man on the ground finally broke down, sobbing as he crawled towards her. "Please, please, kill me, kill me." Callista kicked him aside and rose to her feet. Standing before him with her gaze lowered, staring at him. What she was thinking remained a mystery. "Kill you?" Callista tilted her head slightly. "Oh, so much pain? Can't bear it anymore?" The one next to you never begged for mercy. Callista's hand gripped the man's chin, turning his head to look at the skeleton beside him. You are crazy," he cursed wildly. The woman before him was a madwoman. Otherwise, why would she relentlessly seek revenge on them with such madness? But she was a rational madwoman, an elegant killer. He would always remember the expression on her face when she killed his friend right in front of him. Cold and indifferent, as if what lay beneath her hands wasn't a human being but a laboratory mouse. She lowered her eyes, looking at her pale knuckles without emotion. "Madwoman? Have you forgotten? It was you who unlocked the cage and let the madwoman out." Callista extended her foot, pressing down on his hand. The man screamed in agony. I was wrong. I was wrong." Callista's gaze fell upon the man who was incessantly confessing and apologizing. She smiled, bent down, and deliberately softened her voice, like a devil's seduction. "Is that so? Do you truly know what you've done wrong?" Deceived by this false gentleness, the man shed tears. "I know I was wrong, I know. You've already killed him, haven't you?" "I didn't do anything. Nothing at all." After listening, Callista made an expression as if this were indeed the case, took out a set of keys, and walked up to the chain. Click. The lock opened. The man on the ground shuddered, seemingly unable to believe the scene before his eyes. He could hardly believe it. After being imprisoned for so long in this sunless, desolate place, far from any sign of life, he had nearly succumbed to death. Hatred and fear had been ground down, almost completely worn away by the endless torment of each passing day. The perpetual darkness and silence had stretched his nerves thin, like a taut thread, with the only company being the steady ticking of the old clock on the wall. Every sound felt like it was slicing through his sanity. This torment was too excruciating. He would rather be stabbed to death than endure the suffocating quiet of the darkness any longer. He had prepared himself for death, yet now he yearned to live. For the follow-up content, please watch the video of Chapter 1 to 2.